Awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take over screen sharing, and we are going to actually build a couple bots together before we get into this APAR demo, because I think we have a lot of these conversations and people want to know what it looks like. What's it like to interact with this tool? Because at the end of the day, it's low code, no code. We want your end business users to interact with it and creating their own automations. So to help with that goal, let's take a look at Rpa Software and start to understand it and what we can do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. See it all right, John? Dokkan?
Yep.
Perfect. So we're going to be in Automation Anywhere today. It's our preferred RPA vendor, but there's multiple out there. The two big players you're going to hear are Automation Anywhere and UiPath. Personal recommendation is choose one of those. They're the market leaders and they have the most capabilities. Automation Anywhere is our RPA vendor of choice. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here and actually create an automation together. So this is the platform. It's all in the cloud. And like I said, there's a lot of these tasks that we were talking about: managing users, managing devices, credentials. And this is what I mean about how RPA has changed the game. It has created this platform where it's a one-stop shop. Everything's managed here. You don't need that computer science degree to set any of this up. So what we'll do is hop into this automation tab. And what we will do is go ahead and create a new bot. Anytime we do this, we end up in this new instance. And it is, like I said, drag and drop, low code, no code. And they've built in these 10 years of automation functions out for you. What I mean by that is that, say we wanted to automate something with the PDF file. We can come over to these actions here, type in PDF, and we immediately see we have all these actions related to PDFs. Merge documents together, extract data from these PDFs. So it's really a search for what you want, and more likely than not, you'll find it. So let's take a look at Excel, for instance. We have all these actions here for Excel right out of the gate that we can interact with. You don't need to be a software developer to do this. What I mean by that is, let's actually build an automation together. So that Excel macro case is a great starting point to dip your toes into the water with automation. What I mean by that is we can create Excel macro automations with about 4 lines of code and start adding value to your organization. Every organization I've talked to typically has multiple of these, and they can take 20 minutes to run, and they need to be refreshed every morning, and that becomes an employee task to do. Let's take a look at automating that. So what I'm going to do is, we have this Excel sheet here, just call it run my macro, and we have some data in here. Right now, it's sorted by bin. What we really would want to do is sort it by the days remaining before it goes over age and email that out. So let's build that out together. So what I'm going to do is start dragging in some steps. So this is going to be open Excel. Go ahead and save that. You can see that's been generated here. Like I said, I'm going to type in Excel because I want to automate something in Excel. I'm going to find the open command, because the first thing we're going to need to do is open that file. I'm going to go ahead and point it to this correct file, run my macro. And immediately you'll see that, give it a session. Let's see what this does. Let's just run it, right? So we have one command in here. It's just opening this Excel file. Go ahead and run this bot. We'll see exactly that. This Excel file will come up and open. Perfect. So the macro that we want to run is actually already in the sheet, and it is just called sort. So this is, if you have an existing macro, you can just call it. So after we open it, let's search macro. We'll find the command run macro. The name of the macro was called sort. So we'll just tell it to run that, and we're using the same session we opened it as, and that is it. So next thing we'll do is just close the file because we want to save it. Save on closing, same session name, and that's it. So that's what I mean, that this is a great place to start and an easy way to add immediate value with this software. Take your Excel macros that need to run every day, and in 3 lines of code, you can get this started and scheduled. But typically the next thing we'd want to do is actually distribute this information. So I'll drop a new step in here. I'll call it email. And then you can believe it, we are just going to search email in here and see what we get. So I see send email. I'll drag and drop that in. It says email server. If we just select Outlook, it'll automatically take our Outlook profile, and then we can go ahead and send it that document that we ran the refresh on. So I will put that in here, and I will just email it to myself. So we'll go ahead and run this full automation. If I fill that out, should be good. Go ahead and run this whole automation now. And it'll run super quick. We'll barely see it. It's a really short macro. Perfect. So you saw there, it opened the sheet, saw some data changes, and then it went through. If we go ahead and take a look over at my email, we'll see email check file. And if we go ahead and take a look at it, we'll see that we actually have that file, but now it is sorted from that macro by days remaining. So like I said, really easy way to get started and add value. 3 lines of code and then email it out. Don't need a computer science degree to do it. I would just want to stress that a bunch. The end goal is to have people on your teams have access to this software and be able to create their own automations. It's really empowering. And that's what we always say, right? It's about enabling your employees. It's not about replacing them. It's about making them work more efficiently and focus on those tasks. So this could be done with an Excel macro. Obviously, we're using one, but how do we take it to the next level? How do we say, hey, let's automate this fully? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and steal a website URL here real quick that I want to work with. Comment in here just so I can keep this here. So I just threw a URL in here, and at this URL is some data that we actually want to load into Excel. So this is kind of the next step in using some of those simulated human actions. Let's log into a system. Let's grab the data that's in there on a daily basis. Let's load it into Excel. Then let's run our sorting macro, and then let's email it out. So now we've kind of gone beyond what you could just do in Excel. So let's create a new step, and we'll call it access data. And this is going to be from a browser. What I'm going to do while we're testing this is disable these other actions until we work through this. So in my actions, I'll go ahead and search browser. Take that and copy my link. I'm going to say open in Chrome, and let's open up that page. So just to make sure this works, let's go ahead and run it. Everything's disabled other than this one open browser action. So what we should see is this URL come up. Perfect. And what we see here is that we need to log in. Not an uncommon task, right? Anytime you access a system in your business, you're most likely going to have to log in unless you're SSO. So let's handle that. What we're going to do is use this button up here to start recording. And what this does will actually record the actions we take on that web page and turn them into code for us. So it's really easy to use. All you need to do is click around and interact with the website how you typically would, and you'll see that turned into code. So I'm going to refresh. You see this window came up here. Sorry, it's a little small. And what I'm going to say is I want to interact with this window. I'll hit Universal Recorder. You can see as I interact with this page now, it's picking up elements on the page that I can interact with. So what we want to do is type in my email. Perfect. We will hit continue. And then in password, I'm going to go ahead and just type in password for now. You'll see why in a second. Then we'll hit login. Obviously, that didn't work because I just typed in a password. But you can see after we hit finish, we automatically generated code that we can use. So I will just move this under the browser tab, and we can take a look at this. So we can see that screenshot we got is saying we're going to interact with this element, and we're going to set its text to this. I made a mistake and it'll pick up all your mistakes. So I'm going to delete that part and just leave my correct email. Perfect. Next part is, looks like I clicked it twice. Or wait, maybe. Looks like it missed that continue click, which is fine. We'll just go ahead and re-grab that. So I will just copy this, hit recapture, automatically brings me back, hit continue there. There we go. And we will tell it to left click on that box. Next thing we see, email, don't need that one. Password, set text. And we're going to use my actual password here. So immediately it detects it's a password field and it says you can use an insecure string, but not best practice. So we're going to grab my actual password and we won't see what it is. I already have it stored. So we've created a credential for Confluence and the attribute is password. So if I put that in here, I promise you my password is not password. You can try this later if you want, but that's the password credential. And we'll just give it a little delay there so it can click into it. And then we'll hit login. So let's go ahead and run this. Close our environment, go ahead and hit run. And now this should open the web page and log in for us. And then we'll have access to that data that we wanted to get to. Not me, hands are up. Perfect. And you can see that this table is here now, and this is the data that we want to grab. So can create a new step, call it load data. And I'm going to do something different this time. You can use Universal Recorder, or you can search Recorder and grab it this way. Go ahead and refresh. It's grabbing our windows, and I want to interact with this inventory data page. I'm going to hit capture object. And again, you'll see this red highlighting. Well, see, as I clicked on this table, it automatically detected this was a table element. So I'm going to say, get the table, the entire table, and save it to capture data table. Just like that, we're able to extract that data. So let's enable these Excel actions now, because we want to load this in. So now that we have the data, the main thing that we'll want to do, open the file, but we don't want to immediately sort. I fortunately created a macro that will clear this sheet called clear. So we'll open the file, we'll clear any data that's currently in there, and then we will write from data table. So that data table that we just grabbed, captured data, and we'll start at cell A1. Go ahead and do that. So this entire process now should be completed. We will log into this web page. We will grab the data that we need. We will open Excel, clear it, write that data, sort it with our macro, save the file, and then close out. So that'll be the entire process flow. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and log out. And let's see if this executes correctly. And you can see, I know I've said it a bunch, but this is not something where you need a degree to get started with this. You saw me point and click how I would normally interact with the web page in a generated code, which is really, really convenient. That's not how it was 10 years ago. There was a much more complicated process to figure everything out. So we can see it did exactly that. Got into this web page, ran the macros, and you'll see we have that exact same file. You can open and access it, and it's sorted how you want. So this is a quick example of how you can add value and create a bot. It's been, 10 minutes, and we've created this process already. Obviously, I do have a bit of experience, but this is something that your team with a little bit of training can start doing on their own and start automating their own Excel sheets and get rid of some of those tasks that they hate doing. I love getting those emails. They're like, I'm so glad I don't have to do this every morning because it's always been a pain for me. That's really the goal. And that employee is going to enjoy working more and engage more with their work. So that is the kind of general overview of the platform, kind of how we create code. How will we start creating this simple bot? I'll pause here before I show that AP demo.